This one says, thank you for your book.
You're welcome.
And there are actually two questions. What books do you enjoy reading?
Which books? Right now, I can't stop recommending The Book Thief. Have you guys read this book? It's so amazing. I think I've read it 6 times, and I've listened to it on audio twice. It's an amazing book. It was published as young adult fiction here in the United States. Originally, it came out as regular literary adult fiction in Australia, but for some reason they decided it was YA here. But it's an amazing story about a young girl growing up in World War II Germany, a young German girl, and she gets sent away from her family, and it's about her coming of age, and it's so beautiful. One of my favorite characters of all time is in that book, Rudy. Don't you guys love Rudy? Oh my goodness. So that's my favorite book right now. I will be very honest with you. The book I've been reading the most is my own. And I was asking Dave earlier if he had book recommendations because I need a good book that's going to spark my own creativity right now again. That's true.
And the other question on that card is, which books do you keep on your bookshelves? And I'm thinking, if I'm not interpreting the question too widely, I think what's meant by that is, what are the books that you always want to have around?
Yeah.
Not just what you're reading right away.
I always have to have with me Toni Morrison. I always have to have Michael Cunningham's The Hours with me. I always have to have Shakespeare sonnets with me. I always have to have Faulkner with me. I love John Edgar Wideman as well. I have to have Adrienne Rich's essays around me, as well as James Baldwin's essays. Those are very important to me. I adore Jamaica Kincaid. But the thing that I necessarily always have on my shelves are books of poetry. I'm not a poet at all. I wish I were, but I'm not. And I always have poetry with me because it's so amazing, like Mary Oliver or William Stafford. These are amazing poets, and when I get stuck with my writing, I go read them because they do so much in so few words, and it's inspirational in a lot of words, and it's beautiful. So always I have poetry. Sharon Olds, Audre Lorde, Rita Dove.
Weren't there a few more?
There are a whole bunch more. I won't go on.
Okay. Philip has written a lovely card, and it also has a question on it. Although this is a novel, there seems to be a lot of truths from your own life. It's said that a good novel is the truth in disguise. How much of your book is truth versus fiction? And was the process of writing cathartic and therapeutically a self-discovery?
It definitely, there has to be truth in fiction, otherwise it doesn't work. It doesn't ring true. And the way that we read, it's important to make sure that we connect, and we don't connect with the absurd or the ridiculous, and so definitely there's truth in it. And then the other part of the question was?
About being cathartic and therapeutic.
Oh, dear Lord,
the writing
yes.
process.
I will tell you absolutely, definitely, for a couple of reasons. One, it feels so amazing to have the book published because people are connecting with the story, not just because they're half black and half Danish. By the way, there are 9 of us currently living in the United States. This is my personal census count. If you were wondering, there are 9 Afro-Vikings living in the United States right now. But it's cathartic in that way, but also, it broke a silence for me about these issues. I don't feel ashamed about saying I am both things. I don't feel ashamed about saying I have struggles. One of the major themes of the book is the issue of addiction and alcoholism. That was a shame that I felt like our family had to deal with. I don't feel ashamed about mentioning that now, because when I talk about my own struggles, my family struggles, my personal struggles, that means I'm probably connecting with one of you guys out there too, because I bet you're struggling too, and then we don't have to be so lonely in that struggle.
Thank you. Here's a question that just came up, and I'm going to add a little bit to it. It says, do you keep a journal? Which is a yes-no question, so I'm going to expand on that. If you would, tell us about your writing habits, the day-to-day exercise of writing that you do.
My journal habit is writing every morning, first thing. I don't talk to anybody. I have my morning coffee, and I write 3 pages longhand. And that's the first writing I do every day. And then after I write the 3 pages longhand, I write 10 sentences of affirmations, things that I want to have come true. So right now, I'm writing over and over again. My debut novel is an Oprah Book Club pick this season and a major motion picture done by Will Smith.
Which part does Will Smith play? Drew?
He plays Drew. Yeah, of course, of course.
And who plays Brick?
Jaden plays Brick, of course.
That's the young Brick. Who plays the 6-year-later Brick?
Well, it depends on how fast they make the movie, right? Like right now, they could do both. They could film him now and then wait 4 years and then film him again, don't you think?
And Rachel is portrayed by?
Undiscovered talent. We don't know her yet. Yeah.
Does anybody else out there see somebody playing Rachel?
I think she's too young to be able to figure out who she is, right? But Aunt Loretta, guess who plays Aunt Loretta?
Oprah Winfrey.
Jada Pinkett Smith. I'm going for a major motion picture here, guys. Do you see a theme?
Heidi's already spoken with me about playing the part of Doug, the alcoholic. All right.
Oh, by the way, the journal question. I write and I don't, have any stock in this company, but I only write in moleskine, the black journals that have very smooth paper, and it has the little envelope in the back, the accordion envelope, and a little bookmark in it. And if you're really into a good journal that has good porosity for your pens and great space for your thoughts, I have a dealer where I get them cheap. So if you want to know, come to me afterwards and ask.
Okay. This podcast brought to you by, and on the same card is a slightly different question, and I think it has both a specific narrow meaning and a much broader meaning. Where are you going from here?
Oh, I hope not downhill, right? Oh gosh. Or that sophomore slump that people talk about. People keep scaring me about that in every interview. They say, so are you worried about the sophomore slump? Now I am, yeah, sure. Well, the next project, thankfully, is underway. It's different in its style, but it's very much about my same obsessions, which are about identity, cultural identity, about beauty, about what defines a family and who gets to define what a family is. And it's about spectacle. So it's based in the late 1800s in Paris and London. And it's inspired by the real life of a woman who is half black and half white, born in 1858 in Poland, of all places. So you could tell that's a story already, because where'd that black guy come from, right? Into Poland at that time. This woman, her name was Miss Lala, she became a very famous circus performer. And she was so famous that Edgar Degas did a portrait of her in 1879 called Miss Lala at the Cirque Fernando. So it's a story, a fictionalized story of her life and her imagined friendship with a woman who was called Crow. She was a young Laotian girl who was either sold or captured in Laos, but she had hair all over her body like the hair on your head. And she was exhibited in the same venues where Miss Lala performed as a trapeze artist. Crow was exhibited as a freak, as the missing link, as proof of Darwin's theories. And so the story is an imagined friendship between these two women. Does it sound okay? Circus books sell well, apparently. That's not why I'm doing it, but I'm absolutely fascinated by this time.
It's a little bit like water for
Like
trapeze
water,
artists? Or,
exactly, water for trapeze artists.
Let's see. How does Portland seem now compared to when you were growing up in the 80s? In terms of race, in terms of everything else?
Dude, it's totally different. first of all, the Wonder Bread factory store, I mean, the store is there, but the factory is gone. My neighborhood used to smell like bread. It doesn't anymore. And in terms of the landscape of Portland, it's radically different. I think I mentioned earlier the fact that I grew up in what is now the Alberta Arts District. So where there is now a doggy daycare, a Bikram yoga studio, and like 4 espresso cafes, there used to be a liquor store, a store where they sold hair, and a rehab center. Like, it was a very, very different place. In terms of the way that the city is made up racially, it's also changed very radically. At least, in my part of town, you were either black or you were white, or you were an Asian immigrant who had just come from Vietnam or Cambodia at that time. And we had one guy from Mexico in the school. And I can already see that the makeup of the city is very different. In terms of how people connect with each other, I don't know enough about it. I live in Los Angeles now, and I only know what I hear when I come back to visit my family. And I hear what people have told me when I've come to visit for the book, which is that, yeah, things are changing for the better, but sometimes they're not that good still, that there's still a lot of room for improvement.
Thank you. Let's see, a couple of these I think you've already covered, but this one I don't think you mentioned here. What is the real incident that the jump or push from the roof is based upon?
Well, I mentioned it earlier, but I won't tell you more. And mostly it's because I feel very protective of the real girl. I mean, she really is out there somewhere. And a few years ago, I think I found where she was living, at least who she might be living with. And I realized I have no business contacting her to say anything to her. I mean, how would I start that conversation? Hi, how you doing? What you been doing since the fall? What would I really say? I hope she's doing well. I hope if she finds this story somehow, that she realizes that that tragedy that she lived through inspired me to write a story about a girl who was heroic and ultimately, I think, triumphant and is lovable and willing to love in the world. And I hope that that's true for her. Couple big fears. One is that she friends me on Facebook randomly and doesn't say who she is. Or two, the fact that someone else actually figures out who she is and, someone else says, hey, did you know this writer has done this? And we all discover that she's not doing well today. And so for that reason, I actually have told different stories over the years about who, where it happened and when it happened, because I feel very protective of her.
Maybe one more quickly, and that is, you just gave such a lovely description of Rachel, and this person writes, what is the relationship between Rachel and Heidi?
I love her. The thing about Rachel, that character, is I actually started writing it, and she was very different. She was actually very perfect. Great grades, good student, nice to grandma, nice to the other kids, even though they were mean to her. She's taller than me, by the way. She's 5'7". You probably couldn't tell from the book, so I just wanted to let you know. She's much taller than I am. So Rachel, for me, at first was supposed to be, I guess, an idealized me. But as I started to work on the book, I actually went back to my old diaries. I started keeping a diary at age 10. And I went back, and I was so shocked by the fact that I had created a fictional world of myself in my diary. I wrote things that just were not true, often, because I wanted to have an idealized me. And I realized, oh my gosh, I was much more complicated than I let myself believe now. And so I decided to make Rachel more complicated. So for me, my relationship with Rachel is one of great love And also, it's a way for me to say, gosh, I guess I was flawed. I was a good student, but sometimes I was snarky. I was really kind to people, but sometimes I wouldn't talk to my brother in public because he was my little brother, That's mean, and things like that. And so I guess it's a very complicated love relationship. Like, she's a little me in some way, and I was able to make a difference for myself by actually going back and forgiving myself for not being a perfect kid and for not necessarily being exactly who I wanted to be all the time as a kid.
So one of Rachel's moments of self-assertion is when she beats Tamika. And I asked you at lunch about your own, not just history with race, but history as a racer.
Yes.
And maybe you just say a word to these folks about, with no modesty, just put it out there.
That I ran 3 marathons?
No, the part as a young girl that you were such a good sprinter.
I was a good sprinter at 5 years old, or at 5th grade, I guess. And then I kind of lost it when I got into 6th grade. I think it was puberty. I think that's what stopped me. But the Tamika Washington character is great. Like, she not only beats her in the race, but then she punches her out at the end, which is very exciting. That was, that's a fantasy. I never hit anyone in my life.
It's not autobiographical at all?
No, well, I could tell you this story, that when the book came out in hardcover last year, I did an event at Powell's downtown, and it was kind of like, this is your life. All these people I hadn't seen for years and years, old teachers, kids I hadn't seen since 8th grade graduation, people, all sorts of people. And the kids who I went to Tubman Middle School with, they waited until the very end, and they said, okay, who's Tamika Washington? And they said, was it so-and-so? And I was like, no, but she scared me so bad. And they went through a list of, I don't know, almost 10 names. And finally, one of the people there said, wait, was it me? Am I Tamika? I was like, no, I wouldn't be talking to you right now. And it was in that moment I realized that character, just like all the characters, are very much a composite of all of these personalities and all of these feelings I had growing up. So, yeah. There isn't Tamika Washington out there, right? Like, you don't exist, do you?
Well, Heidi, thank you so much for coming and giving so generously of your time and your spirit and your delightful literary creation. And I hope that you know that you will, not just as a former student, not just as a former employee, but as someone who has helped us all, you'll always have a home here at PCC.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.